Welcome, everybody. So happy to be here with our ICF Academy. We have a great show for everyone today. But just before we start, love to see and hear from you. Where are you from around the world? If you can share in the chat, that would be awesome. So where are you from around the world? And we have a couple of people here, and we have a couple of exciting, gatherings. So in China with one of our ICF board members, Ruth, part of their training is being here with us today. And we're going to be heading to Spain, as well as talking about technology and a fun little announcement that we have near the end. So why don't... For today, we have Carolina, who's going to be sharing with us her camp and sort of the behind the scenes, which I got to go see personally during ICC Spain. Georgie is also here with us to chat a little bit about that behind the scenes of the recording, and Travis is here to chat about some technology. How can we create some more space for ourselves while creating connections? Before we get started, though, I'd like to invite Georgie to the stage.
Thanks very much, Gabs. I'm pleased to front this particular episode with a bit of a sad memory. As many of you know, Jenny Bowker has passed. Jenny Bowker served the ICF for many years alongside her husband, Bill, and then in 2003, she became president of ICF. And their home at Kangaroo in Australia was and still is a must-visit destination for camp professionals visiting in Australia. Whether they were abroad or at home, Jenny and Bill were kind and generous and outgoing to all of us. Jenny and Bill are the only two people to be presented with the Abbott Ben Drujba Award separately and in their own right as a member of one family. Each of them made such significant contributions to international camping. Jeff Bradshaw put it so well at Jenny's memorial, where he did a video tribute. What Jenny meant to so many in the international camping community is difficult to put into words. Jenny believed that everyone should be seen and heard and recognized and celebrated. And at every opportunity, Jenny did just that. There was no better feeling than being in Jenny's company and knowing that you were acknowledged and loved. Jenny made every stranger feel like a friend and every friend feel like a family. Jenny's term as president began with the ICC in Australia and persisted through the ICC in Mexico and right up to the time of ICC Quebec in 2008. At the ICC in Quebec, Peter Katz introduced the camp song. We know the camp song. It is the song that is all wrapped up in the ThanksToCamp video. Later, after the Congress, Peter actually changed some of the words. I've always carried the original words in my heart, along with the other great ones that we all sing now. They apply to the value of camp, but they also apply to the memory of someone like Jenny. They go like this. It's something you can't touch. It's something you can't hold. And maybe it's not much, but it's worth more than gold. The Jenny ripples go on and on. They touch the people who knew her back when, and they touch all the people who now benefit from the ICF community, even though they never knew her. I hope that we can all remember Jenny and people like her as well, people who have shaped this community and served camp professionals over the years. Their legacies have shaped our industry, but they've also touched our lives. Gabs?
Thanks so much, Georgie, and really appreciate that. And I've spent many times with Jenny, and you're right when you say the ripple effect. Her ripple effect will continue, and I think this is something that she just wanted to bring people together, and ICF Academy is an example of that ripple effect and her joie de vivre and bigger than life. Thanks so much, Dork. Really appreciate it. We are so privileged to have people that are with us and that have inspired us over the years and has brought us together as a camp community. And one of the ways that we try to do that here with ICF Academy is to show a little bit of what is happening around the world. So to have the best experience for you today, please remember to keep yourself on mute. If you want to chat, we'd be happy to chat with you in the chat box. We have Lucy that's here for Spanish, Gwen and Kate, and Alexia for English. And if you need to take a break, you do that. We're just here to hang out before a lot of us, our summers actually start. So we're just hoping you sit back and enjoy the show. So for today, our plan is how to build a camp tour. Bringing people together, we get to go on a little camp tour to Spain and check out English Summer Camp, which speaks really closely to me because our camp also teach English and French. So bringing campers together through language. And then our spotlight today is with Travis Allison, spotlight on tech and camps. And so important to stay here. Even if you're like, I'm not a tech person, you don't want to miss this.
Thanks, Gabs. On a brighter note, so I promise, a very short history. It all began many years ago as I started traveling for ICF. I would come home and some staff would want to see some of the pictures of camp visits. And so I do my little home slideshow and they would be envious and I would be really proud of the places I'd been and the things I'd seen. Later on, a little nerdy, but I began to drop pictures from those visits into different folders. I had a folder on kitchens and a folder on rope courses and a folder on waterfronts, because it was really interesting to see how different people did what were essentially the same sorts of things that we all know. So we all know how difficult it is to get away from our own camp and visit or tour other camps. Everything sort of operates at the same time and travel is expensive, etc. It's great to see people at congresses and the Congress videos that have been produced are wonderful. But to see camps and to see people who know and love those camps in their home setting was also really great and such a wonderful gift for me. Along comes COVID and we all stopped traveling. And so we began to think, what if there were a way for us to have some virtual tours? And I'm not talking, I mean, we can all go on to YouTube and look at promotion videos of different camps and see some of the things that are produced for families and marketing and so on. But wouldn't it be nice to have a conversation with a camp director, go behind the scenes and have sort of a director to director tour of camp? You could ask questions and could see, sort of behind the curtain how things work. So through the ICF Academy and through other contacts, we reached out and got the names of some people that were interested that might be willing to do this little project. So 3 steps. The 3 steps are these. Number 1, the interview. That's the hardest part. You have to spend about an hour and a half talking to people like me. And so Carolina and I sit down and kind of make this interview process and talk about as many different aspects of camp as we can, director to director. And following that, we gather together a bunch of pics and videos of the camp. Now, that can be done during the summer that follows the interview or during the activity time, and people can gather either from their photo collection or by actually going into the kitchen and showing the dishwasher, seeing how food service or health or administration is done and recording those things. And then it gets put together. And so there's this edit and review process. And that is done externally and then comes back to the director, and the director takes a look at it, and we fine tune the final process. So an interview, gather the items together, and then edit it into a tour video about 30 minutes in all. So far, we've been to Greece at Delphi Camp. We've been to Mexico to Camp Santa Ursula. And now this time we're heading to Spain in Carolina Fleix-Wright. The master of step 3 is a man named Tom Knowlton. He's a good friend of mine, and he's a videographer, and his love of camp shines through. He's done the Thanks to Camp video, he's done Congress videos, and any number of other tributes to camp professionals. So it has been his work that has really helped us all come together, and I'm so grateful for that participation by him. And then there's one extra step to make this as international as possible. And so thanks to 3 language editors that are translators. AI is wonderful. We can punch it all in, we get some stuff back, but AI has clearly not been to camp. And so there needs to be some editing and some polishing and smoothing out of the subtitles. So spasiba to Xenia, and gracias to Alba, and sheshe to Ruth, who has gone through the subtitles and taken a look at things to make sure that it is as legible as possible and as useful as possible. So that's the process, Gabs.
And from somebody that has watched these videos, you know, you're as a camp director, you're always trying to look behind the scenes. You know, what does the kitchen look like? What does how does everything come together? And these videos really takes all of this into account. We want to sort of jump right into watching these videos. If I can invite Kate to the stage real quick, just explain a little bit how we're going to do this in an inclusive way.
For sure. So we're actually going to pop into some breakout rooms if you would like to have captions in your language. So we will be airing the video in this room with English captions so that if it helps you to read in English as well as listen, you'll be able to watch it here in the main room. But we will also be adding breakout rooms where you can watch with Spanish subtitles, with Russian subtitles, and with Mandarin subtitles. So I will be opening the breakout rooms shortly. They're labeled with the language that is pertinent to the room in question, and we will have different hosts in those rooms sharing their screens to be able to show the video with those captions on. So in a moment, but not yet, as Michael Brandon would say.
That's perfect.
The rooms will be opening, and then I will share my screen with the English with English.
Gabs, just before we go into those rooms, maybe we can talk about some things to watch for in the videos, okay?
I'd love that.
Great. So as you'll see, the video this time is similar, but a little different than the ones that we've done before. Delphi Camp and Santa Ursula, the similar thing is that all 3 of these camps are family owned and operated, and they're multi-generational. The difference for English Summer is that unlike the other study tours, English Summer operates on multiple sites. There are 4 of them in all. They're fairly close together, but they are distinctly different sites, all under the name of English Summer. Because of the size and the fact that they operate on multiple sites, English Summer has visibly embraced some technology that really helps to maintain the safety, the efficiency, all of the things that all of us need for our camp settings, but also to make it convenient for families and staff. And so there's the high tech has allowed for a high touch opportunity. So we still have a close relationship with our community at large. So everybody wins: the camps, the family, the campers, and the staff. So as you watch, you might think about and listen for some of these ideas and how they might transfer into our own camp setting. And that makes me think about how you might make effective use of this and other ICF study tours in your camp. So separate from what you're going to see today, you might take a look at the study tours for some other reasons. Personal interest for sure. You get to see people that you know in places that they love. But reflection on what you might do differently or better at your camp. It's an opportunity for you to explain kind of the broader meaning of camp and the camp community across the world to your staff team. And it also, and I know Gabs will want to touch on this at some point today because she is at the heart of our ThanksToCamp program. And the visit to another camp is an opportunity for a warm-up exercise for the ThanksToCamp conversations that you want to have with your staff and with your campers, either during staff training or during summer camp. So whenever you're ready, let's darken the lights and go on a trip to Spain.
Thanks, Georgie.
Across the world, some camps are small and informal, others are large and structured. But every camp greets campers to their site, provides shelter, food service, leadership, and program. The ICF Camp Study Tour videos attempt to capture the common elements of all camps, as well as the differences that leadership, philosophy, geography, and culture bring to the world of camping.
Today, our ICF Camp Study Tour is going to Spain. The butterfly is flying to English Summer, and Carolina Fleix-Wright is with us now. Hola, Carolina.
Hola, buenas tardes.
Great
Nice
to
to
see
meet
you.
you.
It isn't quite the same as being with you at the International Camping Congress. Many of us were there, and many of us have fond memories of all of your hospitality.
That's right. It was a nice few days to meet some of you, and we really enjoyed organizing it and meeting so many colleagues from the camp business and camp area.
So,
Okay.
English Summer. Let's
Right.
learn a little bit more. I know it reaches back to your parents and what, 1980 or so. Maybe just a quick summary of the places and the things that you've done there.
This is a family-run business. My siblings, Jordi and Felipe, we're all in the business. My mother used to teach English at home, private classes to them. And my dad, he had a hotel chain. We put those two knowledges together and we started with the first camp. We used to spend our summer holidays in that first camp, which was like a second home. And that was in Baclara. And because my dad was in the hotel business, every time he heard my mom saying, it is full, he started looking for a second center. That was Poblet. It was a hotel which was abandoned for about 8 years. And we took over, we renovated everything, and we had classes, the sports facilities, and so on, because it was a hotel with a lot of land. And then the third one was up in Prades, and that was a chicken farm that my dad came home one day and said, I've bought a farm. This is the biggest one. Prades has 240 beds for the children, so it's our biggest center.
Back to the hotels themselves. We aren't talking about a multi-story Radisson hotel. They would be more like a boutique hotel in a rural area of Tarragona.
Yes, rural places that
Right.
are all in the province of Tarragona. Tamarit is down near the coast, 8 kilometers from Tarragona. Then we have the other 3 up in the mountains, which are 15 minutes or 20 minutes apart from each other. Because one of the things that my dad had in mind was to make sure that the camps were all within, a reasonable distance, because we run it amongst ourselves. So if we needed any help, we could go from one place to the other.
And so the camps have evolved to partner a summer experience or a camp-like experience with the English language
Correct.
instruction. Can you tell us more about that? How did that work?
At first, it was mainly English. In the afternoons, we just look after the children, gave them some activities to do, but nothing really organized. And it wasn't until my brothers and I went to the States and worked in different camps. My brothers, both of them worked in Camp Tours in Kerrville near San Antonio, and I worked in a camp called Camp Mystic. And that's where we got the ideas on how to organize as an American-style camp.
So in a typical camp, would you have a group of staff that are the recreational staff and a group that is the
Correct.
instructional staff?
We have the English team, English native teachers, who teach all the 4 hours a day. The groups are divided into 10 to 12 students per class, and they're divided by levels and ages. And then while the teachers are teaching, we have another team, which is the recreational team, or call them the counselors. They are the ones who are going to be looking after the children. So we have the two teams. While one team is in charge of the children teaching the lessons, the other part is preparing for the afternoon activities, sports, handcrafts, clubs, also cultural activities and ecological sustainability and so on. Teachers are teaching in the morning and also in the afternoon, and the counselors are also looking after the children in the morning and in the afternoon, but different groups. The main responsibility relies on the counselors. They are the ones who are going to have breakfast, lunch, and dinner with their group of students. These students are the cabin students. We don't have cabins, we have bedrooms. But then we also have the sports counselor, and they're the leaders during the activity.
You mentioned also that those counselors had some special training. Is that training that you do, or is it done by an external organization? What certification do they receive?
They can receive the training in two different ways. One is they go to a specialized school where they train them to be counselors, and then they do the official certificate. And then we also have our own school. Our own school is only for ex-students, children who are 17 and 18 years old. They do a training with us during 2 summers. They have to do a total of 6 weeks. They receive theory and practice training. And then when they finish, they have to do 1 week intensive course, which is done by the teachers, official teachers from the government. Once they finish the learning process, they have to prepare a project and present it.
There must be programs that relate to vacation periods, and then do you have programs that service schools or things through the year? What does a year of English summer look like?
The name of the company comes after that. So it's English Summer, because at first it was only during the summer. To make sure that we make the most of the premises, we started organizing school camps. So this program runs from September, October, November, and then we have the following season, which is the spring season, and it's March, April, May, and June. So what do the school groups do? They come here for 1, 2, or 3 days, and they do activities which are related in some way to the curriculum that they are following at school. And then on top of that, we also have on the weekends, families who come and stay with us, or organizations like, I don't know, a music school who brings all the students and they do activities on the weekend. Or we even organize weddings and all sorts of events, team building events for companies. And then we have 2 or 3 months when we redo, if we have to paint maintain the premises.
So you have 4 different sites. What do your staff teams look like, and the supervision and administration of those teams?
So we have the main offices, accountancy, information and booking, marketing and publicity. All that is running throughout the year. And then we have the seasonal staff, which is the maximum 9 months. And these are the cleaning staff, the cooks, the maintenance secretaries, camp directors, and the rest of the team, coordinators and counselors. Summer season, the counselors stay for a minimum of a week, or they do 2, 3, 4 even the whole summer. But during the school season, we can have staff in peak times, staff that come only for one day. So it is very flexible. Sometimes we have peaks with maybe 600 people working for us, and then it might go down to 100. So it all depends on how many people are staying.
You must have a long roster of people you can contact and recruit.
Yes.
Is that right?
My dad was always making fun of this because he said, "Are you sure you don't stack them in the fridge or something? Because how do you organize it to make sure that you have extra people when you need them?" No, we know that the counselors are going to be with us while they're maybe studying at university, and maybe the first few years, because once they start working as doctors or architects or whatever they are studying, they are not going to come back. Although we do have staff who come back when they have their holidays. So like they're working all year round in another job, and then they come with us for 2 weeks. But yes, the amount of staff, especially when in peak season, it is very challenging.
How do you and your brothers divide the administration and supervision?
Many times people say, "How come you never argue with your brothers?" And I think it's because we all do different things. For example, my eldest brother is in charge of finances. My eldest brother is Jordi. Then we have Felipe, who's in charge of all the selling side of the program and organization of the activities, all the staff. I'm in charge of the English side of the program and the teachers. We have meetings almost every day, but we do have a lot of staff, and they're very well trained in order to get things done properly.
The other thing that impressed me was your readiness to embrace technology in order to still have the human connection, but the technical connection as well.
We have one application which is connected to our own database, and we do all the bookings through them. And we open like a little account for each student, and any expenses that they have. Say, for example, they've lost their toothbrush and we need to buy a new one. So all these expenses are now done through an app, and they have a bracelet. So we scan the bracelet, and it automatically deduces from the deposit that they have. And this bracelet also opens the doors. The bracelet, depending on if you're a student or a counselor or a director, it will allow you to go through different doors. So it depends on what you need. It will allow you to open one door or the other. But they also have lists. So, for example, if you're going on the bus on an excursion to Portaventura, the amusement park, you can check them in and check them out, so you know exactly who's there. With the bracelet, we can also check if any student who has any allergies has gone through the canteen and collected their specific diet, the dish that they have to have. So it does many things, this bracelet. For the kitchen staff, for checking the temperature of the fridges, checking the temperature of the food, the oven, and so on. And this, they do it with a tablet that we have, and they scan different QRs. And it also helps you with ordering directly the food. We also have another application because we need the people to sign when they arrive and when they leave or when they have a break. So this is done also through another app. They also get their pay slips on this app. They get any documents that they need to sign. And this has saved a lot of time and paperwork to the person in charge of personnel.
Tell us about your market. Are they coming from Tarragona? Are they coming from Barcelona? Are they coming from other countries?
Our main provinces are Barcelona and Tarragona, city and province. But we have many from the islands, Balearic Islands like Ibiza, Mallorca. They fly in. And then thanks to internet, we also publish on the internet, and we get people from all over Spain. We also have delegates or agents from different parts of the world who send us students. But if we talk about percentages, I think we can say that 95% are from Spain, and the other 5% is from the rest of the world. We also have a program for learning Spanish. So if they have a group, if they send a group, instead of going to English lessons, they have a Spanish teacher who teaches them Spanish. but then they do the rest of activities all together with the rest of the students.
Spanish summer.
Spanish summer.
So here you are from 1980, what, 24, 25 years. Are you alone in developing of camping, or are there others that have done more or less the same thing?
We have language camps like ours. So they teach English, or in the south of Spain, there's a few who teach Spanish mainly, and they get students from international students from different countries. Then we have all these sports camps, music camps. We have all sorts of different camps, especially in Catalonia and in the north of Spain. There's a lot of history. There used to be buildings more like boarding school type of camp, big bedrooms with maybe 10 beds. So the style has been changing because of the demand. They want now bedrooms with a smaller amount of students, with even, en-suite bathrooms. And before it, everything was like shared showers and shared toilets, but things are improving now, and we've noticed this in the past maybe 15 years or 20 years. The quality of some of the camps all around Spain, it's quite high.
I'm anxious to go on a tour. I visited all 4 of your camps, and it will be great to see some of these things again. So what does an arrival day in the summer look like?
2 or 3 days before they arrive, we send them a Teams link, and we do a tutorial before they arrive. This helps them break the ice, because when they arrive, they recognize the face of the person who's going to be looking after them. Parents are more relaxed because they've met the person who's going to be looking after them. Before they arrive, we send them an email with the details of the arrival time. And we want to make sure that the children from the same group arrive at the same time. So when they come through the main gate, we give them a little badge with their name, the bedroom number, and the name of the counselor who's in charge of that specific student. And we give them a map with the circuit. They have to go around, drop their luggage, and go and park the car. So the counselor is on the front of the bedroom to greet them, collect the luggage, and leave them in the bedroom. They are not allowed to have the mobile phone throughout the camp. Only twice a week, if they want, at a certain time, they will collect it from the counselor. If they prefer to play and they don't want a phone home, they can go. It's not compulsory. With their mobile phone, it gives them a little peace of mind, knowing that they can contact them at certain times. They also give us any medicines. They are not allowed to have medicines in their bedrooms. And the nurse, they are in charge of the medicines and also in charge of checking about the specific diets. The camp counselor is keeping them together. And then when he has or she has all of them, then they start doing a tour around the camp, telling them exactly where everything is, showing them all about the rules and regulations, and doing a lot of games, ice-breaking games, introducing each other, and so on. And then they go for dinner. They have dinner, and after dinner, the whole camp, all of the campers, get together and they do a welcome party where they're going to be telling them all the activities they're going to do and cheering them up and giving them a lot of expectations about their week at camp or 2 weeks at camp. And then at 11 o'clock, they go to bed. So that will be the first day.
Partway through, we went to our cabins or our accommodation. They're probably a little different at Tamarit from Valclara to Poblet. Can you describe them? Are they bunk beds? Are there
Yes.
How many children typically?
All the bedrooms are wherever camp they go to, 4 or 6. And they sleep in bunk beds and they have their own cupboard. And that's another little detail that my mom started many years ago. They have labels and they know exactly, Maria's peg, Maria's shelf, Maria's drawer, Maria's bed. So they know adults are not allowed to sleep with children, which means that children are going to be staying in rooms of 4 or 6. And after those bedrooms, there's a bedroom for staff. And then 3 more bedrooms or 2 more bedrooms, and then another bedroom with staff. In these bedrooms, we have the counselors and also the counselors who are in training, extra people, extra hands, when especially with the very little ones, because we start at the age of 5.
Let's go to the kitchen for some food. What are the times of meals in the day?
They go for breakfast between 9 and 9:45. We organize it by sittings. So at the back of each door in the bedrooms, they know if it's first sitting, second sitting, or third sitting. All our services are in-house. We don't have catering, so we have our own cooks, and it's all self-service. So they collect the tray, they have the different options. So for example, 2 starters, 2 main courses, and dessert. And we always have a salad, a buffet, but our favorite is paella, the Spanish paella. Everybody loves paella and macaroni. Each counselor eats breakfast, lunch, and dinner with his or her own group. And we do that because they are the ones who are their parents during the time that they're in the camp. And they're the ones who they need to know if they're eating properly, if they go to the toilet properly, all these questions, because these are the main questions the parents ask when they phone. They want to know about their safety and their health. But it's the Mediterranean diet. On a plate, they need to have half of it vegetables, a quarter of protein, and a quarter of carbohydrates. So this is all very well organized.
Time for lunch is what time?
Lunch is between 1:30 and 2:30, an hour. At 3, we start the following activities. And then dinner is between 8:30 and 9:30, because we start again. The late activity is always between 9:30 and 11. They go to bed at 11. Between breakfast and lunch, it's a half an hour break. We always offer fruit. And also between lunch and dinner, we have a little snack. Some days it's a sandwich, some days it's fruit or a little cookie.
Health services. Is there a clinic at each camp, or do you keep a team of staff, or are you connected to the hospital? How does that work?
The person in the infirm is in charge of giving the medicines to each camper. And also, if a camper falls and scratches their knee or whatever, they can do the first aid. We have a suitcase in each of the camps, which is connected to an online pediatrician. They can take the pulse, they can take temperature, and everything is connected to the pediatrician on this computer. And they are the ones who tell us, I think you should go to the hospital, maybe 15 minutes or 20 minutes from any of the camps. We have services, and also maybe 3/4 of an hour, the main hospital. If they're European, they have the European National Service, so they are covered with that. And if they are from outside of Europe, they have to bring their private insurance.
You've mentioned some English lessons. You've mentioned some program activities. Some of your camps are at the beach or near the beach, and others are in the hills. So let's just run through a typical day and maybe some of the activities that children might do.
So as we mentioned, they wake up between 8:30, go and have breakfast. When they finish breakfast, they go to their bedroom, they tidy up. The whole camp, it's all around the Olympic Games. The Olympic team has students of all different ages. So when you go to class, you have your friends from your class because of level and age. In the bedroom, you have your other group of friends. And then the team, you have another group of friends. This helps everyone getting to know everyone in the camp. Anything that goes on at camp gives them points for their Olympic team. So after breakfast, they go and tidy the bedroom. We have room inspection, and they are given points. These points are going to go to their teams. For example, all the students are given a duty when they come, okay? And this is to learn to be responsible, a duty that can be turning the lights on or off, collecting the dirty clothes. Another duty can be watering the plants, putting the jars, the jugs of water on the tables at lunch, breakfast, and dinner. This also gives them points for their team. For example, in class, English lessons, they do activities or games, and they can also gain some points there. If they speak in English outside the class, they get points. So after they've done their English lessons, well, they do the first hour and a half with one teacher. and then have half an hour, and they go back to class, but with another teacher. And this exposed the students to different accents, because we might have a teacher from Scotland or from Ireland. So when they finish their 3 hours of lessons in the morning, they go for lunch. And after lunch, they have maybe 20 minutes break. They go up to their rooms, brush their teeth, tidy up, or whatever they need. And they also have some time to spend around playing chess, tennis, badminton. They do a competition, and they also add those points to the Olympic Games. Then after that, they start the last lesson, which is usually more relaxed. Theater, singing, preparing a video, interviewing. And then when they finish that 4th hour, that's when they go and get changed, and they spend an hour at the pool or the beach, depending on what camps they go to. It's just playtime, okay? Sunbathe, swim, whatever, maybe do some sand castles or whatever they want to do. And then they come back, get changed, and they start the activities, the afternoon activities. We have team sports, baseball, volleyball, football, basketball, all the team games. They do that for 1 hour, and they go with their team, not with their school group or bedroom group. We know that some kids don't like sports, so that's why we only do 1 hour. The other hour is other type of activities like nature studies. There's the dance club that they love, because they learn all these routines that they're going to be doing at night. So all these activities are done until just before dinner time. At 8 o'clock, they go to their rooms, maybe change, because the best part is always the evening. The party that we do at night between 9:30 and 11. And this because sometimes the party involves also the dinner. For example, say they have rock and roll party.
Okay, here we go. And we move to the left.
They do their own makeup and everything else. Because there are several competitions. They have the costume, the best team costume. Then they have the dances, the rock and roll dance. And then we have the part where all the staff does the introduction to the actual theme party. So they do a little show. Then we have other parties, I don't know, the pirates, for example, and they have a treasure hunt, or they have to run around, find their treasure. So it's not all dancing or theater. And we have a specific song, Vamos a la cama, que hay que descansar, para que mañana podamos madrugar. This means let's go to bed, because tomorrow we have to get up early. So everybody sings that, and they go to bed. The younger ones might want to go to bed earlier. Say, for example, 5, 6, 7-year-old, they might be tired, they want to go earlier. The counselor will take them. They really fall asleep in 2 seconds. We don't have to invigilate that much.
No, I think I would be asleep as well. It sounds like a great and busy day. As you look ahead for the next 10 years or so in Spain and in the life of English Summer, what are some of the main challenges that you see ahead?
The natality rate is going down. So we are thinking that in the future, there's going to be less children, which means that we're going to have to adapt to that. We're trying really hard to make sure that people understand that working at camps is going to help them in the future, and it's going to give them values and skills for their future job. I hate when people say, I'm not coming back in the summer because I'm doing a proper job. What do you mean a proper job? This is also a proper job. So you have your responsibilities, you have your timings, and you're getting paid for this. So we want the recognition of these jobs as important as any others. Youngsters, if somebody's going to offer them 5 more euros, they're going to go to another place. Well, we try and tell them we're not offering just a salary. We are offering also an emotional salary. And we are offering much more than just this job. No? It's also very challenging, all the requirements from the government. So much bureaucracy in everything that I know that, for example, if somebody wants to start from zero, it's so complicated to get everything done. And also another thing, parenting is so different to what it was before. Many of the parents who are bringing their kids have been campers before.
Yes.
And I don't understand why they're acting the way they act now, overprotecting their kids when they were kids and they did the camps. But they're like, oh no, it's too long. 1 week is enough. And I go, really? You were there for 3 weeks or 4 weeks? So yeah, I think that is also another challenge.
Well, your mother and father had a great vision, and you and Jordi and Felipe have carried out that vision and really created a pretty special environment for kids in the Catalonia and beyond. What is your thanks to camp?
I can say that thanks to camp, I've been able to be with my family every summer, to be able to see your own kids as campers first, and then working at the camp and continuing with our legacy. I think this is, for me, well, it's one of those things I have to thank camp.
I haven't even asked you about Castel.
Oh, yes.
Because I know that you even do some Castel in camp with Joanne.
We do. One of our members of staff, Joanne, is involved in the Castels, and he suggested that we should include that. And we do team building with adults also. With Castels, it's so important.
And it's such a great metaphor, you know, for how people can work together to create something special and also to lift children up.
To lift children up, you're right.
Now, I know Froggy is your mascot at English Summer. Do you have frogs hopping all around? How did that happen?
It's a very funny story. When we first started, we had our initial F for Fleix, our surname, on the T-shirt. There was an F. Then later on, we changed the F. We started thinking we need to have something more, adapted to children. So my eldest brother, who's really good at drawing, he drew a little boy holding a book, which was the English lessons, and a football. And that evolved. So we started saying we need a mascot. We need an animal or something that identifies us. And my mother just went in the room and she said, when I think about England, she says, I remember when I was a child, the rainy days, we would put our Wellingtons on and go out and start jumping on the puddles. And there were a lot of frogs. And we said, okay, we've got it. We're going to have a frog. So we had one of our members of staff who was very good at drawing. He drew the mascot. And since then, we've changed it and given like a 3-dimension. And we now even have a costume.
Yeah.
We have Froggy running around and saying hello to the kids.
Just adding to the fun and adding to the joy. Yeah.
Everybody, you don't need to even write the name of the company. Everybody who sees the frog, they know it's English Summer.
I hope that it's not my last tour, my last visit. I would like to come back and to continue to watch English Summer grow and develop and lead so many kids into so many great experiences.
Yeah. The doors are open anytime.
Gracias.
Gracias.
So many takeaways, and it's such a gift to be able to learn about how people do things, how they approach problems, and actually those solutions become marketing opportunities or building community, staff training. And it's also interesting to hear that a lot of some of the issues that I'm dealing with is similar to what Carolina is dealing with. We want you to get involved in also showing us your behind the scenes so we can become a stronger community by sharing and learning. Kate, do you want to join me on the stage just to talk about how, maybe a camp could also do that wonderful work that Jorgi and Carolina did, of course, with Tom?
For sure. So we're hoping actually that we might have a chance this summer to do a little tutorial video on how you could DIY a camp tour. So I will actually be probably joining Gabs at her camp at Camp
Ah.
Aurora this summer, because that's my old camp too. So I'll hop up this summer and do a little bit of filming of myself to do a few intros. We'll do a little filming of Gabs, because we all know we love to see Gab's face in these videos. And just do a little bit of a sample of how you can do these camp tours just using your cell phone. You don't have to have a fancy camera. You don't have to have fancy editing technology in order to make a little tour to share your corner of the world with the international camping community.
That's right. And while you're at it, you might as well also be taking your Thanks to Camp videos. As Carolina mentioned, you know, keeping staff is something that's difficult. It's an international struggle to, you know, to keep staff and find staff. And Thanks to Camp is a wonderful campaign where you might want to ask your alumni how camp itself has helped them in their career. And I know that this year with our staff, we invited alumni to share their Thanks to Camp stories. And we just came back from a mini training from some of our younger staff members. And they were telling us that they were sharing those stories with their parents about engineers, doctors, architects. We were very selective on who we wanted to join our alumni team to talk to our staff, but it really made an impact. And so these little seeds that we plant can really help change the story that, of course, camp is a real job. And thanks to camp, I have the career I have today. So thanks so much, Kate, for joining me on the stage today. I wanted to, before we introduce our next speaker, I wanted to introduce a little tidbit. We're going to talk about technology, and Carolina did such a wonderful job with Georgie to chat about those things. And here we have a little excerpt that I got from our camp. Our camp has been around since 1922, and this is just a little piece of a newsletter, an update, if you will. And it says here that in 1933, light bulbs were introduced into our dining room. And they said, just with a switch, you could imagine this, turn a light bulb on and turn a light bulb off. And what I love particularly about this story is this last sentence where our camp director, Dorothy Percival, said, I heard many of the old campers expressing a certain amount of disgust at the introduction of these light bulbs, but I knew they'd soon get accustomed to it. And sure enough, they did. And so even back in the day, light bulbs was sometimes a little scary and technology, and imagine lighting candles and, you know, every single day. It doesn't really make sense. And camp has always had technology. Camp has always been evolving. And there's nobody better, in my opinion, than Travis Allison to help us learn more what's out there so that we can build connections with our community and perhaps even create more space in our time so we can be present and letting people know our story. Travis, we're so grateful to have you here today.
Thanks so much, Gabs. It is good to see you. Great to see so many familiar faces and people that I have had the chance to get to know through ICF. Yes, I am. We're going to jump from light bulbs to where I end up with artificial intelligence. So let's see what difference a century makes in summer camp world. Excellent. So I am pleased to be here and excited to be invited to talk about how technology can help us at camps inspired by Carolina, and some of the cool technology that they're doing at English Summer. And I was asked to follow up on that and think about some specifics. And I'm opening this up with my philosophy on technology at camp. Everything I do is so that camps can have the time to care for their people. My focus is tech and tools and communications because that's my passion, and I'm always thinking about ways that we can do this. And so I want you to look at this as I talk about tech and tools as thinking of ways that you can show you care, act as you care with your families by using these tools, which I admit take a little bit of setup sometimes, but it does free you up to do the thing. Why we're in this business, to care for these people who send their children to us, who send their young adults to work for us, etc. So this is about finding the ways to have the energy to do that instead of being dragged down by all the minutiae, the small pieces of running a summer camp. I would love it if you could take just a second, throw this in the chat. What care would you love to offer your families if you could find the time? What are the things that you're missing out on in terms of serving families, serving the campers, because you just don't have the time and you're stuck answering emails or answering phone calls, etc. What would you love to be doing for your families and for your campers? Thanks, Kate, for getting us started with personalized welcomes. I'm gonna let people keep typing. Please keep an eye on that. Helping them see the magic. Yes, Gwen, totally. Let's find that spot. Personalized daily updates, registration process. So let's get away from the tech. I would think about how could we care for them? So we personalize things. We make them feel welcome. That spirit of there's a phrase that I'm losing it, like overwhelming welcome, making people feel so cared for in what we do. And that would be an amazing way to really demonstrate to those families our passion for how their kid develops, how their child grows because of the camp experience. And so I want to continue on today with a few of those things and think about how we prepare our family connections and crisis communications ahead of time. Many of you in North America, not all of you in South America, obviously, many of you in North America are preparing for camp, or camp is about to start or will come in the next month or so. And some of these things will obviously have to focus based on the time of the year. But I wanted to give you these thoughts. So after your camp season, or if camp starts in November or December for you, January for you, then you have the time to prepare and think about those things right here. My name is Travis from Go Camp Pro. That's our company. You can look for the podcast that we offer in English. Many of the people from the folks that organized this today have been guests. Gab has been a co-host with me on one of our shows. She hosts another one of ours on staff training. That is how we choose to reach out to the camp world, through all of those things that we offer. So my work, as I say, is really getting families to focus on the things that we do at camp and be comfortable with that, be accepting. You heard Carolina talk about how parents have changed at the end of her video, and I think we acknowledge that and be thoughtful about how we work with families. So my biggest measurement is this little phrase that I came up with, which stands for getting families to open, read, absorb, act on, and hopefully share the communications that you send to them. The number one thing that I hear that frustrates camp directors, and I hear this every week of my work, is that parents don't read. And because of that frustration, camp directors are spending so much time doing little things just to get people to act on the messages they send them, to absorb these things. Then, yes, not just parents going, I agree. As a culture, people don't read. And so we want to think about how we can get them to read these things, get them to act on them when we need them, send their forms in on time, pay on time, etc. Because that makes our life as camp directors better. It makes our families trust us more. That transfer of trust, when they say, okay, we will send our kids to you, they have to trust us in order to do that. And all of this is part of that equation that makes it easier for them to trust us. So for me, I want to reiterate the purpose of studying and learning how to use technology and tools as a person who runs a summer camp, as a person who's responsible for all of these children and staff, is to give myself, this is what I hope for you too, to give yourself time to truly care for your families, to focus on the people that really need our care and need us to listen to them, or need us to walk through things with them one-on-one. And the technology, I hope, prepares us to do that and allows us the time to do that. So I want you to be thinking about parent communications as a 5-pointed star. That 5-pointed star is the 5 points through the life cycle, meaning the customer life cycle, how we deal with families in a circle, but there are 5 specific points in that circle, and how we can consider those things. So we'll also come to something that's missing from this illustration here, the beating heart of this communication strategy, because everything rests on this. And you'll see why in just a second. So the 5 points of this customer camper life cycle, the family life cycle with us, come within, often within a year, but the first part between the first and the second point sometimes can be a little longer. But the first part of it is, what are the things we think about, the things we prepare for as we're trying to convince families to send their kids to us. So that is before they sail, before they decide, yes, our child is going to your camp. And then immediately after that, there's very important communications that happen. Again, this just reinforces you should and can trust your child with our camp. We will take care of your child. And the way we communicate with parents reinforces that, especially immediately after they decide, yes, our child is going to camp. And then another very important part is before the first day of camp, before the child arrives, I try to get people to prepare a very specific set of communications for the 30 days before that child comes to camp. Now, if that family is returning, then that doesn't need to be as much communication from 30, 29, all the way down to 1 day before they arrive. But that's part of this too, is we're customizing things based on, is this family coming to camp for the very first time, or are they coming to camp for the 4th time? And each one of those can have, and I think should have, different styles, different elements of a communication plan. I also think it's incredibly important to communicate with families before the end of a session, a day or 2 before a child is finished at camp. If you're a day camp, it might be the end of their week or the end of the session. If you're an overnight camp, then it is about 48 hours before that child is coming home, and have a really specific plan of communication to reinforce all of the things that have happened at camp and to help parents talk to their child about what camp has meant to them and what they've gotten out of the camp experience. And then finally, it's repeating, getting this to sign back up again. Those are 5 important parts. And the beating heart of this, the thing that's missing from that, is a plan, a lot of intentionality and thoughtfulness and preparedness about crisis communication. And so in the middle of this, because it doesn't matter at what point in the cycle, we have to be prepared. How do we talk to our parents in an emergency if something comes up, whether it's internal, something happens at camp, it's external, something happens outside of camp but does affect our kids. You know, a recent North American example is how camps were affected this time last year when there were so many forest fires in North America. The camps had to plan for how kids would be outside because of the bad smoke. And so that was something that needed to be communicated. And I want camps to be prepared for this stuff ahead of time, not have to scramble to put these things together. This, I believe, is the key to a good camp director's sleep, is knowing that the stuff is prepared, that you can just grab it out of a file on your computer and go for it. And that is a whole other presentation that I would love to give sometime, but it is not today's. I promised I would talk about technology, but I wanted to set the foundation of why it's important and how it can affect your job as well as your families. So I believe that there are some tools or technology that you should have ready to help you out with this. You should have been signed up. A lot of it's web technology, things you need to sign up for or have prepared ahead of time. And of course, that's the outbound communications, the way that you speak to your families from your office outward. But there's some really important things we touch on first. And I'm going to talk specifically as we head to the end of this about your parent partnering playbook. And that's just the fancy phrase that describes the 5 points of that star with the beating heart in the middle of it. And I want you to think about how we can make families be surprised with how well we look after them. And then we'll talk about tools as we go. It is incredibly important, and again, I don't have time to spend a lot of time on this, but it's incredibly important that you are watching how the world sees your camp. And thanks to technology and the web, you can set up alerts to see if there's any mention of your camp. You can do simple things like bookmark or put in a spreadsheet all the places in the world that someone can leave an online review about your camp. That's a very important listening skill, should be set up before camp goes. It's something you should check in on regularly. And I think it's so important that you know what the world is saying about you. You have, one line of communication from family, people who are involved in camp, but you don't have an understanding of what the rest of the world thinks, or those that choose not to communicate with you directly. And my friend Joanna Warren Smith and I worked with a client who had not checked the online reviews about their camp for years and had a crisis because their online reviews were so bad and they had done nothing about it for years. So all of a sudden they realized how bad it was, and then they had to get back to build their reputation up online, because all they'd been thinking about is our camp, our parents, their parents' friends. They hadn't been thinking about the wider world of how people talked about camp. So please make sure that this sort of stuff is set up. I'm going to share some resources at the end of this. I'm going to show the slide again if you don't get a chance to scan it, but I will share some resources about listening to how the world sees your camp, doing some automated things so you can make sure that you understand how your camp is perceived outside of your camp community. So the partnering playbook includes making sure that you can automate as much of your communications as possible so that those that really need your attention can get it. And then you prepare yourself for each of these 5 points on the star, and think about ways to make this as easy as possible. So I hope that by using email automation or a communication software that texts your parents, even that texts your parents automatically at a certain point in that circle, the 5-pointed star, can save you time, because there's always that one parent, and I'm sure you know him or her, that this is the parent who calls and really wants to send their child to camp, but is so scared to do it, that that you just need to spend time, talk this parent through the process, because that will enable you to get that child to come to camp. But if you're stressed and busy with all these other inbound communication, answering emails, etc., you may not feel like you have that time. So make sure that you think about things so that you can spend time with a parent that really needs it. They will send their child to camp if you can just spend the time with them. So that's a really important part of this. It's a big part of my thinking about why we do this. We also want to be able to communicate with our staff, because they're the key to how our kids perceive camp. And so making some automations that deal with parents, or even the paperwork part of staffing, this way you can really care for them and show them that you care. So you're going to prepare for each of these different points. You're going to prepare something for before a person comes to camp, registers for camp. This is obviously marketing. That point after they register, some really specific, intentional things that build trust before the child arrives at camp. And then again, before they go home, something to send to the parents so that the parents are prepared for asking their child questions about camp, for finding out information, because eventually, hopefully right at this point, as soon as the child leaves camp, you're going to ask them for some feedback, fill out an online form or a survey about your camp experience. And it helps parents to know the details of what happened at camp, and you can help make sure that that happens. And then we come back to getting them to repeat their registration, come back and register for summer. I want you to be specific about surprising and delighting with your communication. Many families are used to communications from their children's school, sports teams, any clubs that they belong to. And many parents I know are in chat groups with other parents from teams and a coach, and every parent I know is frustrated with that. This is an opportunity for camps to show how thoughtful, intentional we are about planning for our communication with parents. So the things that you can use, email will be your number one, of course. But as I have said, there's ways to automate that to make it simpler so you don't have to waste so much time on it, including automated some of your responses if people send you questions. I hope that camps are invested in texting their parents, because it seems to be the one way that most camps get the best response from their parents. I hope that you're sending some form of physical mail. Postcards is the simplest. It's a lot cheaper to send. a postcard in America than it is other letters. In Canada, it's the same. I'm sure there's different points to this, but the surprise and delight make families feel happy. Part of this is that many children don't get mail. Many parents don't get mail. We used to say parents, the only thing they get is bills, but most people get their bills delivered by email now. And so we want to send them postcards or something by mail that really shows them we care and surprises them for how we care for them. You can send them personalized video. This is a great passion of mine. I am sure that many of you on here have had a personalized video from me. And it is one of those things that I get a response from every time I do it. People who won't open my emails will open up the email that has a personalized video from me using their name, talking about them, thanking them for something specific. And then you can, with your communications, do what I call marketing your marketing. And that is something like, I'm going to send you a postcard 1 week before that says, in 7 days, you're going to get an email from us. And it's going to include the reminders for when your forms need to be in, when your final payments. But by sending that postcard, you're letting people know, watch for an email from us. And that's what I mean by marketing your marketing. You're communicating that you're going to communicate. And doing that simple step often means there's much better understanding or follow through from parents. So to wrap up my piece of this, I want to talk about my favorite tools to make this happen, to make families feel like they care, we're caring for them, make them truly understand that, and to get some of these communications that go back and forth, get them out of your way by automating them. Number one, do anything you can that's handwritten. I admit that I have terrible handwriting, but I will still write thank you cards. When I was doing fundraising for our camp, I would handwrite the thank you cards, or I would write a thank you card and I would ask the camp director to write her piece on the bottom of it. Anything that's handwritten, even if it's just a signature or a little note on top of something that's printed on the card, makes a difference. It makes people understand that we are people, real human people that are going to look after your real human child. This is one of those things. I've been putting this out there for almost 20 years now, and I want somebody to take me up on this. Think about creative ways to surprise and delight people. There's always a packing list. You're always frustrated because parents don't read it. I've heard parents say the packing list is so frustrating because there's not enough check boxes. You tell me to bring 5 t-shirts, but there's only 1 checkbox. Why is there not 5 check boxes? This is a thing that's a point of pain for everybody. I want some camp, please send a checklist and write a song that is basically reiterating what the checklist is. I promise you, if you write this song, I will use it in my presentations because I want it to happen so badly. Do it and send it to me. I don't care what language it's in. I will use it because I think it's such a cool opportunity to show how fun we are, how thoughtful we are with this. You can also use a screen recording. There's lots of different software to record how to fill in paperwork. We have to acknowledge that we have a deep understanding of what camp means to us, but parents don't understand things about camp the way that we do, because we're living it. It's our whole lives. And you can do simple things to make it easier for them, such as just recording yourself talking through how you fill out this paperwork. Make it short, make it easy to understand, and that will help parents. And it helps you because you get paper back sooner instead of somebody seeing this great big form that's incredibly intimidating or hard to fill out. This way, you're walking them through how to do it in video. When I talked about personalized video, I mean, this is the app I use. There's lots of new apps out here. I use this website and this app called Bonjoro. When somebody buys something from our company, they do something online, I automatically get a message in my Bonjoro app that says you should send a video. So this morning, somebody bought one of our recorded webinars on this topic, on how to communicate with parents well. And so I got a notice that I need to send a video, which I will send a thank you video to this person who bought that. I hope all camps use that. It's amazing for getting your staff to send in things, for making your staff feel welcome. It's great for parents just as a reminder. It's good, again, to personalize the thank you. All of those things can help getting the stuff done that you find frustrating because you're actually recording every single video. One day, I recorded 180 of these videos. And it was my whole day, and I had a big water bottle to do it, but it paid off. I got so many great responses from that. People were surprised that I would do it. I would say, hey, Fari, thank you for joining this. Gwen, I'm so grateful that you signed up for this. Alexia, thank you for sending your child. All of those personal touches make people so surprised that you do it, but it's fairly simple for you to use. And I'm going to be thoughtful and intentional about anything that lets me measure the rates of those things that I talked about before. I'm going to do just a couple of details on Bonjoro and measurement. There's a company called Postalytics that will allow you to do bulk mailing, meaning that you could email the 150 people that are registered next week. You could send them a physical card or a physical letter, and every part of it's individualized. You know, dear Travis, your son Spencer and your son Andrew are registered for next week. Please make sure Andrew and Spencer fill in this form. And so it's personalized based on the data that you already have. It is amazing how grateful and surprised parents are by this. And then you can do the same sort of thing where with videos as well. You can say, you know, dear Travis, your son Spencer's form is not quite filled out. Or when you're filling out the form for Andrew, make sure you catch these points. And then we're going to talk about AI as my last piece. Bonjoro is this amazing app. Doesn't have to be them. It's just who I started with from the beginning, because somebody sent me a thank you video for buying something or other. And I'm so amazed at how thoughtful it was that this person was sitting in a park in Denver, Colorado, and said, hey, Travis, I'm so glad you bought our product. Here I am sitting in this park just enjoying it. And I thought I'd take a second and thank you. And I thought, what an amazing way to make me feel welcome. And I wanted camps to use it as soon as possible. So you saw the QR code. I'll put it up at the end. If you sign up today, I will send you a video. I will probably mispronounce a lot of your names, but I will still send you a video if you sign up today, I promise. So I'm focused on anything that lets me measure stuff. I've talked about the kind, thoughtful part of being a camp director, but I'm also the kind of person that wants to make sure that the effort I put into things pays off. So I'm going to measure my rates of how many people open my messages. How I can see through my email software how many people or what percent of people open my messages. That's the first step for me understanding, okay, maybe this parent has read things. I can't measure if they've read or absorbed things until I get to the next step is I'm going to measure if they act on something. So every message has some form of call to action. Register now, send in your forms. I can measure how much that message, how effective that message is at getting me to do that or getting a parent to do that. And I'm going to experiment on that. But in order to experiment, I have to start to measure first. And then I can measure if people share the messages that I send out. My most sincere hope for you is that you send a thank you message to a parent who registers their child, and they're so excited by how cared for, how welcome they feel to be a part of your camp that they show their friends. Look what my camp did for me. That I think is the best thing that we could all hope for, is that one of our parents is so pleased with how we care for their child that they tell all their friends. They show them the communications. That is something we can measure, and I think something we should work on. All of this can be done with an email software. I won't talk about the specifics of that, but it is built into a lot of automations. It's built into a lot of registration software, and it's good work. It's worth investing in these kind of automations that you can measure. So finally, as my last piece, and this again is a much bigger presentation, but I wanted to leave you with some ways that artificial intelligence can be a help to you. There are some important parts of this philosophy, using artificial intelligence to free myself up for the things that I really need to care for. And number one, speaking of artificial intelligence and looking after families, seems like it contradicts itself. It seems like we're removing the care by using technology like AI. But I'm saying using the technology will allow you to better care for those who really need it. If you have a family who's been at camp 3 or 4 years in a row, they don't need as many communications. They don't need as much, but you can automate it using AI to do some of those things, so you can care for those first-time families. Those that invest and work with artificial intelligence and the generative things that will make up emails for you or design a plan for you, find in general that they have a 30% increase in their productivity. I know no camp that couldn't use basically another third of a full-time person in their office, that this could free you up to do so many things if you had one person for a third of the time. And if you multiply that by the number of people in your office, each one of those is going to add up to your ability to better care for families. So we're going to talk about what AI is going to be, and then we're going to talk about how it will guide you to use it. It's part of the interesting things about it. And then I'm going to talk to you, my last piece, and this is the last thing I will give you if you sign up, is a persona that you can use in AI, and I'll explain that. So AI is going to be something that allows you to personalize the time and the media that you send to each person. By media, I mean email, phone calls, which I didn't have on my list. I should put that on there. Text messages, etc. You can make sure that you can use these tools to personalize it. Again, that's the "Hey Travis, your sons Andrew and Spencer" second session. All of that's part of the personalization of it. You can also allow AI to guide you through the process. If you're new to this, you can give it really specific instructions that say, you tell me step by step what to do. One of the easiest things that I put in there is I say, basically, I'm going to ask you to do something, but before you do that thing, ask me 10 questions to make sure that you understand what I'm looking for. So I'm looking for a plan to reach out to families in Barcelona that are scared to send their kids to camp but have expressed an interest. Before you create this, ask me 10 questions to make sure you understand what I'm looking for. And that will it'll walk you through what it needs to better help you. And that's one of those great time-saving tools. Instead of just say, create me a plan for families from the city, and then you have to go back and edit it. It's too broad. It doesn't include camp enough. It doesn't sound campy enough. You have to keep going back every time. If you do these 10 questions, you save yourself the part of the process where it has to come back, you're not happy, etc. And then the final thing that I think is the most important, one of the things that's been discovered in the last couple of years, is you can ask AI or make AI adopt a persona. So some simple examples of that might be, you are a parenting expert who understands how the families of St. Petersburg understand camp and their worries. Help me do this thing. Or I want to make sure that parents from Shanghai really understand what it means to go to a summer camp and how that's different than just a summer education program. That making it, you're the expert in this thing, use that to design what you're going to say to me. And that, again, I will give you one of these. I call it the Parent Whisperer. You'll need to tune it a bit to suit your parents, but it gives you a starting point, something that you can edit, because always that blank screen, like Travis gave me this great idea, but I don't exactly know. I'm going to give you the foundations for that. So there will be the QR code at the end that gives you something that you can copy and paste. I'll email it out probably tomorrow. If people are watching this afterwards, they're watching a recording, you will still be able to get this. The QR code will work. So that persona takes so much guesswork out of this and makes things easier to be intentional, makes it easier to automate, makes it easier to use this tool to take that 30% of workload off of you so that you can care for your families. Again, you're going to think about it geographically. Maybe you could put in some sort of sociological demographics to help it talk to the people that you want to better. All of these make using AI much more efficient for you. So I appreciate the invitation. I'm so grateful that everybody's been here. I've seen lots of stuff going on in the chat. I haven't had a chance to check it all out, but I know that it's been busy.
It's busy.
I'm happy to answer your questions, but I just want to say, this is me. This is how you get in touch with me. And if you're interested in the follow-up from this, take a scan of this, and I will send you not only my copy and paste things, but I will send you a personalized video from Bonjour. Thanks everybody for having me here. I'll leave this on. Kate, you can decide, tell me when to take, you think it's been enough time for people to scan, and I'll hand it over.
We can leave it up for, I have one question,
Yes.
because the chat has been very busy,
Yeah.
more with like mind blown emojis and et cetera, et cetera. If if you had a place to start, like if
Yeah.
I was like, all of this is amazing, but like, where do I start? I want to do something right now for the season that's about to happen. I don't want to miss an opportunity, but I'm not quite sure where to start. What would be your suggestion?
If your camp is starting in the next 6 weeks, because you're in the Northern Hemisphere, I think I probably said North America late before, but if you're in the Northern Hemisphere, then I would send postcards.
Yeah.
I would remind them, I would remind them of what drop-off time is and who to look for when they arrive. Send that by postcard because that'll make people pay attention. They're used to getting lots of emails from you about this. A postcard will be the thing that breaks a pattern, so it makes them pay attention. It breaks the pattern of camp just emails me things over and over again and emails me dozens of messages. One message by postcard can make them pay attention to something else, like arrival time and directions.
That's amazing. Thank you so much, Travis. And I think that for people that might be a tad overwhelmed saying, I love your ideas, but I'm not quite sure how to implement, just remember the light bulb story. Dorothy Percival did not know how to do electricity. She just knew she needed the electricity. She hired an electrician. And you know what? We have electricians on our staff. They love tech. They love communication. We teach them what we want to say. They'll show us how we can do it. So if you're like, you just need the big picture, but you can hire your staff to execute some of these things and play this video for them so they can pick up on Travis's great ideas. Travis, thank you so much for joining us. Such a great way to wrap up the end of our season with us as the spotlight. I hope you have a wonderful summer, and thanks for giving so much to the camp community.
My pleasure. Have a safe and happy summer, everybody.
Yay, we're trickling to the end of our show today. I'd like to invite Gwen to the stage with me because here at ICF Academy, feedback is helpful. Gwen?
We are so excited about this season, so excited to wrap it up because that means the summer camp season is here. That was great information. Please give us feedback on the types of topics you would like to hear about, what we can do better. As much as we love ICF Academy, the reason it has become what it is your feedback. So please use the QR code there, and we'll also put the feedback link in the chat and give us your ideas. We're very grateful for it. Thanks, Gabs, for all you do for us.
Thanks so much, Gwen. And guess what, y'all? We love meeting online. We love meeting on Zoom, but we love even more meeting in person. And so here we are to announce in voice, because it's already been out there, shared, but live, we'd like to say we'd love you to join us in China for our next ICC Congress. And those that went to Spain know that that energy can carry you through many, many seasons. Those connections become truly camp friendships. And a lot of us that are here today have lifelong friendships from these congresses and have an appreciation of how people do things from around the world. And China is obviously going to have a lot to teach us. So stay tuned for a lot of more updates on this. But just for now, we're happy to announce China is where the next ICC will be. We also appreciate y'all following us on Facebook, Instagram, X, Twitter, LinkedIn, YouTube, of course, and sharing that with other people. Our goal is for our information to be shared with you so that it makes your time as a camp professional easier and builds connections. And just follow us and share our information. It really, really goes a long way. And we appreciate your support. Now, we are just wrapping up our season 4, which means next season is season 5. Kate, can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Absolutely. So we will be starting next season in October of this year. So, and we would love to make sure that we have some of your input on what you'd like to see in some of our later episodes. I will be starting in October with just a little debrief of summers. We'll have a few people join us to share some of their major summer learnings. But then afterwards, what else do you want to see from our webinar series? If you have ideas, you can pop them in the chat right now. We'll also be adding a survey link in the YouTube description when we post this once it's recorded and all finished. So please, please, please share your ideas for what you would like to see from webinar content. If you would like to see more of Travis and have him have a full episode long presentation about technology in camp,
I love that.
let us know if that's what you want to see. Or if there's something that you would like to have us share for staff training that would be helpful for you to use to your frontline staff, we can facilitate something like that. But yeah, we have a few ideas in our pockets, but we always like to hear what our audience is looking for so that we can be best serving you.
Thank you so much, Kate. And on behalf of the ICF Academy, we'd like to thank Carolina, Georgie, Tom for that wonderful tour camp video, and Travis as our spotlight host for today. I'd also like to personally thank our team at ICF Academy: Gwen, Alexia, Kate, Lucy, Georgie, and Simon. You are the heartbeat behind this endeavor. It was sparked by us being apart, and it has brought us together, and you make me feel warm and fuzzy inside every time we do this work. And it's just a joy. So thank you very much. Best of luck. See you in October. Thanks again, everybody, and take care.